lead those. Um, oh, and you are also have to realize that you're competing against so many other people, not competing just against kids in your course. You're also competing against kids and youth across the world. So that preparation and that ability to really put your head down and work really hard and understand when you and I guess put your head, try for as many opportunities and try for as many things as possible is really, really, really helpful. The next one, I think, is probably one of the most important things that I will leave you today with. Your network is your net worth. Somebody on my team mentioned this, and I thought it was the best saying ever. We are only as powerful as, I think there's a saying, is the seven people that you hang out with. You are the average of those seven people that you hang out with. Your network that you are currently building within ALX, the network that you've built over your time is what's going to carry you forward. When I started my business, and even when we were launching products across the continent, when we were going into flying into Nairobi every 2 weeks to launch Showmax and understand how M-Pesa works and understand how you were having movies delivered on a scooter, I had to have people that I needed to reach out to. I couldn't just land and figure this out on my own. Um, when I started my business, how do you get clients? You phone and you find out and you speak to people and you go, do you need some support? What are the things you're battling with? What's keeping you up at night? Um, you need to have people that you can phone to help you and to help you grow in different ways. I think my biggest thing is that there's a lot of professional networks. ALX has got an amazing network of students within it. Um, but you also have to make sure that you're not afraid to ask. Um, if you're not afraid to go, Anna, do you know anybody at Vodacom? Do you know anybody at Safaricom? Do you know anybody who does X and Y? You also have to be very clear why you're wanting to speak to somebody because they're going to give you their time. I know Fred talks about a wonderful thing how he always used to schedule catch-ups and lunches over lunchtime, so he knew he could get his lunch paid for. I think that's amazing. Like, find opportunities. I'm going to get a coffee. I'm going to, if I get a coffee over here, I'm going to meet that person over there. Know what you are walking into and what you are asking of that person, and also know when you can walk away and know what you've come to get, and know when that person can call you back to go, oh, I need some help with graphic design, or I need to help with some coding. Like, there's, make sure that you are available for that person to reach out to you as well. Um, I think the other aspect here for me is that there's a lot of incubators on the continent. There's a lot of communities on the continent. There's a lot of formalized communities, and there are a lot of ad hoc communities that are not as formal, where it is so meaningful for you to be part of. So if you're doing software engineering, there's always a group of software engineers that are meeting up in every single city, going for a drink, talking about their challenges and their opportunities. Make sure you're plugged into that ecosystem. Make sure you're plugged into that growth ecosystem. Go and hang out at the incubators. Go and visit and find out what everybody's dealing with and meet people along the way. You never know when you need to find out who's out there in your city solving a similar problem to you or is looking to solve a similar problem to you. And I think making sure that you're not afraid to ask. If you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no. But if you ask, the worst that can happen is somebody says no. But it's an automatic no if you don't ask. So make sure you are very deliberate and building out your network, because that is how you're going to go faster. And now, if I think back about how I started, one of the key people in my team is my business partner. If you are going, and this works both ways, if you are starting your own startup, know who you need on your team. Know what your strengths and weaknesses are. Know who needs to complement you. And similarly, if you're joining a startup or if you're joining a corporate team, understand who is on that management team, what are their priorities, and where's the organization going, and what is the board's priorities. If you're able to understand and find a partner who can complement you, and who can help you go faster together, I think that you will go a lot, you'll go faster and further together as opposed to alone. But there is actually no right or wrong answer. This is one of those things that you, as an entrepreneur, will know and deep in your heart. Do you need to have an accountability partner, or do you go faster when you're alone and actually you need to build something by yourself? This you will only learn in the process of figuring it out and either joining a team or building a team that other people can join with you. How are we for time? I think we're okay. Hey, perfect. This is also one of my favorite sayings is there a gap in the market or a market in the gap? I launched a digital marketing business 8 years ago, which is why there's 8 things that I've learned. And at the time, we didn't have all the marketing sizing of tools that you now have. We didn't know how big this market was going to be. We knew people needed digital services. We knew that we knew that there was an opportunity in the market, but we didn't really size the market, the gap in the market. And I think before you start anything, this is so crucial. If you are going into an agricultural space or you're going into direct to consumer, you're selling products, there's so many tools that are available to you to understand how much money you need to spend to reach your audience. You can size the size of that opportunity in a really meaningful way to go, if I need to go and raise capital because I cannot afford to pay for my salary for the next 3 months and I have kids at home, how much money do I need to ask? What does my run rate look like? How much money will it take for me to reach all of the B2B companies that I'm looking to reach? That kind of financial exercise now is really, really accessible to everybody. I think the other part of this is the problem that you're trying to solve. What are people willing to pay for that solution? How big a problem is it? Are you solving something that 10 other people are solving? Or you're solving something only 2 other people solving? If it's only 2, why are there not more? So those are really good questions to ask yourself right up front to go, if I'm looking to launch a business, what can I charge? How many people are willing to pay for that? And do they have the money? And if I then need to back that up, where can I ask for money? And again, that's where your network comes in. And that's where the incubators come in. And that's where your support systems like ALX comes in to go, actually, who are all the people that are looking to build these types of organizations and businesses that are the problem that I'm trying to solve. My next one is probably the most theoretical one. It is your minimal viable product and communication. So you are dead keen on joining a startup or building your own product. You will go through many we talk about the pits of despair in a product growth organization. When something's working and you think you found out what it is the problem is, you've figured out how to articulate it to your customers, and then nothing happens and your customers don't come. And then it's really, 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 really hard because now you have bills to pay and probably other people that have worked and are expecting some sort of payment, but you are in this pit of despair. And it really happens to every single entrepreneur at some point in their lives, and often multiple times. So that grit to push through and go, why is nobody buying my solution? Why is nobody paying me my invoices? Why is nobody coming to this party or this event that I've organized? It's really, really hard. And you as an individual will take a lot of pain for those kinds of things. But this is a really, the graph here is quite a simple, but quite an established graph. It's actually, I think I pulled this off the internet. The first part of your startup is, what are you solving? What pain are you taking away from me? How do you make me feel better? And who do I communicate to? And in this day and age, especially in the technology and the digital world, we can talk to our customers all the time. So if you found you are solving a particular problem, how many people have you gone to speak about it? How do you know that they're really excited? Have their eyes lit up when you've explained your solution? Have they gone, that is amazing. Can you start tomorrow? Can we get that going really straight away? Oh, that sounds exactly like something we need. You talking to as many customers, and again, I'm going to refer back to the network right here. You talking to as many people as possible within your target audience of who you're solving this problem to is absolutely crucial. In that first phase of growth, you actually cannot you can't substitute that. That is the biggest thing that you have to and should do at the start, is to actually figure out what is the feedback. Does your product solve that need you think it's solving? And how do you communicate it best? Because people hear and learn things differently, and I'm sure you guys know, when somebody's presenting or when you're doing a practical assignment, everybody learns in a different way. So are people understanding what you're trying to tell them? Are they willing to buy your solution? And as your messaging and your value proposition, which is really what you're solving for and what you stand for, it starts to land, you will then go through multiple different stages of growth in your organization. And at every single one of those, you have different needs. In your first phase, it is talking to your customers and understanding the value prop and articulating that as best as you can. As you start to scale, you start putting things like performance marketing and talking to more people about it and scaling it out and understanding what other markets are using your solution for what reasons. But really, this has actually all been done before. You can get these frameworks on the internet. There are so many of those. You will be taught a lot of these frameworks in your courses. I think the thing I'd like for you to remember is just talk to as many people about your solution as possible. Data-driven approach and AI. I think AI forms such a huge part of your curriculum and everything that we're doing. And I think most of us, myself included, I have ChatGPT and all the different ChatGPTs open on my second screen the whole entire day. I bounce ideas off it. I ask for it to play devil's advocate. Will the solution fit my client? What are the likely things my client is going to say no to? How do I think about those things? And are they important for me to solve right now? Or is that something I'm going to solve for later? What AI has allowed us to do is go a lot faster and automate a lot of the different operations that we couldn't before. Things like putting documents together, processes together. As I said, using AI as a sounding board has been phenomenal. What it can't do is be you. It can't authentically be you. And a lot of the time, people buy your solution because of you, because you are passionate about solving those problems. If they wanted to buy a cheap solution from AI, they would go to ChatGPT and they would do it themselves. And I think it is so crucial. And as we go forward, and we're seeing this across the board in many, many different verticals, how much people value authenticity, transparency, and our humanness and our humanity. AI cannot replace that. Well, hopefully never, but definitely not at this stage. And just a little anecdote, we see it time after time. A lot of our clients running a digital marketing agency will say, just use AI for creative. Let's just use something that, you can pull from stock and then animate that. And time after time, we've seen that it doesn't perform. Time after time, we see that actually the best performance is from authentic human interactions and human imagery and authenticity. So you have to be able to navigate the space where you are getting that data feedback about your business and about your products and about your approach, but at the same time, be able to marry that together with the insights and the thoroughness and the rigidity that AI and other machine learning brings into the organization. So we, as I said, we use it a lot for operations, for bouncing ideas, for putting a framework together. It's a great resource tool to go. I'm starting a startup in, it's going to be based in Nairobi, and I'm addressing the street hawkers with to do X, Y, and Z. What are the three things that why it's not going to work? And then you kind of keep on asking the why, and you keep on asking the why, and you understand where where that lies. So that's been really, really, really helpful. I know that people are using it everything from cash flow projections all the way to building out a strategy. I would say to you, you are learning amazing things within the organization, within your courses. Apply that knowledge and marry it together with the technology that's available in your space. And don't be afraid to be the human that you really are and the specialness that comes with that. And my last, that's number 8. And the 8, I'm sorry, men. I know there's quite a few of you. I think being a woman and being a white woman in a tech-dominated space has come with a lot of learnings and has come with a lot of interesting situations. To the women to the women that are coming up in through the courses, don't be afraid to speak your mind. If you walk into a meeting and somebody asks you to take notes, because it still happens, to say, I'm not the note taker. Somebody, let me find out who's actually here to take the notes. Make sure you stand your ground. Make sure that you are not being dismissed. I have had in my 20 years or more of this career, I have had every single one of these versions that has come through. What I'd like to say is that I think, and thank you to the men in the room, I think this tide has changed quite a lot in the last few years. We see a lot of coders, women coders coming through. We see a lot of women leadership coming through. It's never enough. I think the more women are at the top, the better it is. And it's actually been studied many, many times that the more diverse the teams, the better the outcomes. The more women there are in the teams, the better overall teams perform. So I think from living and breathing this, it's just an exciting space to be in, and I think both genders can together will actually perform and achieve a lot more than just one gender alone. And just some resources that I wanted to share and leave you with. And I've said to Ali before, I'm not the hugest fan of the Diary of a CEO, but I'm a huge fan of podcasts as a genre, and huge fan of podcasts to listen to on my commute, or even if I'm cleaning the house or doing something around where no one else is around, I put a podcast on and carry on. These two particular ones, The Woman That Makes Millionaires and The Man That Makes Millionaires, from the Diary of a CEO, are particularly good if you're starting a business. They tackle things very authentically and head on about what you grapple with when you run your own business, the risk that you take, the trade-offs. When is the right time? Is it now, or is it in 20 years' time? How low are the lows and how high are the highs? And how do you make sure that at every stage of your growth, you have the right team and the right people with you to help you unlock that growth? And then the other two that I found really interesting to listen to is the Knowledge Project, as well as Acquired. Acquired talks about, like the name, about businesses that have been acquired and how they've grown to the space that they have. And there's a lot of parallel learnings across all of those to kind of go, what resonates with me? What can I take out? And then lastly, I've just put a link into the Scale Up Company. So if you're starting a business, and this is particularly aimed if you are going to start a business, the Scale Up Company, I think they've got branches across the world. They have templates that you can use for who's on my team doing what. What does my strategy look like? How do I think about cash in the bank? How do I think about revenue? How do I think about my balance sheets? So it's really simple spreadsheets that not even spreadsheets, they're like little simple templates that you can follow, and you can download and then you can use to your advantage. And I've just included the South African link, but you can find any of them if you Google them. Um, and I just think it's really, really helpful when you're starting a business to know what are the problems you're trying to solve and who you're solving them with. So yeah, that is me. And I'm going to stop sharing so we can take some questions, hopefully.
Wow, Anna, thank you. I think let's remind ourselves that this is a mentorship session. So all of your insights are here shared for you to, to see how they might apply to your journey or might give you the confidence to take your next step. I just want to, first of all, kick off to say thank you so much. I've taken some notes. Um, and I want to make sure that we open the floor to everyone who has questions, but I would love to kick the questions off while you guys take a chance to put some questions down in the chat. One of my questions that I have as I was listening to you, and you've worked with some really big household brands, but I also know from your background that you've also worked with small entrepreneurs starting off. And what is the thing that you see people stumble with most of the times? What's the one thing you kind of wish you had known or others had known as they kick off their entrepreneurial journey? If there is just one thing, it may not be.
I have about 10 on the top of my head, but first of all, thank you for your great question, Eileen. Um, I think so it's two things. I think knowing your why, knowing why you're doing it, and understanding fully why you are doing what you are doing, and the compromise that you make, I think is the one thing that is really important. And that will be different for depending on who you are, where you come from, your background, your age, your family status, etc. There is so many different factors that go into that, along with your personality and tolerance for risk. But I think the one thing that I see quite a lot of startups, and it's where that most of the startups fail, is getting to actually the what is the minimal viable product, and how do I articulate what my product solves?
Mm.
Getting to that very first step of the practical, you know your why, you've found a way to fund yourself, you have an amazing co-founder, and there you are, and the market is just not understanding what is the problem that you are solving and the pain that you take away. And when you explain it and you sit with somebody for half an hour, they go, "Oh, I get it. Okay." But there's no like, "Okay, I will now pay you $2,000 to come and do it tomorrow." I think that's where we see a lot of businesses really struggle. And I think a lot of it has got to do with articulation, communication. And I think the other part of it is actually testing the market, which is why, I think the AI and your network are so important, is to understand really intrinsically what is the problem that you are solving.
Yeah, not every good idea is a business, and not every business is a good idea. So,
100%.
right, let's see if we've got some questions in the chat. We do have a question here. How can we as ALX alumni and current students get one-to-one mentorship from you? Okay, well, this is a question we'll address perhaps slightly outside of our session here. I do think mentorship is something that we hold very dear to our hearts, and I know that many of the mentors in our wider network often make time for one-on-one coffee sessions or even questions directly that can be answered. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that we keep track of the answers in the chat. If there are answers that Anna feels that she's confident in addressing just on a one-to-one level, we can make sure that that reaches out to you. Tips and partnerships. Tips on partnerships and what do we need to do and what do we need to be aware of? That's an interesting question because sometimes a partnership is a wonderful opportunity to broaden your skill sets, broaden awareness, but other times it kind of takes you away from your core business and your core idea. So, Anna, do you have anything that you feel that you would like to comment on when it comes to partnerships?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about partnership, and thank you for the question, Tina. When you talk about partnerships, do you mean partnerships? for your business, like an opportunity where you exchange value, or do you mean partnerships in a more personal space? So, okay, for the business.
For the business.
Absolutely. So, it's tricky. So, partnerships are, and I'm assuming you're talking like, I'm going to solve for the distribution. I have a product, and if I partner with a telco, they're going to distribute my product to their billions of customers. Um, I think my very first point on that is be very clear. What is the value that you are bringing to the partner, and vice versa? Because if you are partnering, the bigger the partner is and the bigger the distribution chain, the more likelihood is that they know that, and they already have roadmaps that have been locked down for the next 12 to 18 months. So if you go and approach Safaricom or any of the big, I'm using telco as an example, any of the big banks, and you go, I have this amazing product that your clients will really benefit from. This is how they're going to benefit, and they will save millions. The partner will turn around and go, that's great, that's very nice. Yeah, but you see my engineering roadmap. It is this long. You can't get onto it. So you really have to be very clear what the value exchange is and what the value is that you're bringing to the table. And then, unfortunately, you have to figure out who is the best person in the partner or within that ecosystem that will help you implement it. Who do you have to rally on the side to make sure that the customers benefit? So that is if you already know who you're talking to. If you're starting out and you're not really sure who you need to partner with, look for partners that are solving similar, that you can complement. Look for partners that are solving similar but not the same problems. Find partners that have the biggest distribution that you can plug into, because distribution will always help you get your product out. I hope that answered a little bit of your question.
I hear something around ensuring that you understand your value that you're bringing, but perhaps also something around the power dynamic a little bit to ensure you don't get pushed out.
100%.
That's an interesting question. Thank you so much for asking. It's valuable to take forward, because as we talk about networks and as we talk about do you go at it alone or do you go at it together, it's important you don't lose yourself and your value proposition from your product. And we have another question here in the chat, which I love. What is a stage in startups? I don't know if there is something that we can pinpoint, but this is interesting. Is there a specific stage in a startup where people stagnate? And do you have any advice to speak to that?
That's a great question, Noah. Thank you. I think similar to a marriage, I think you go through. What did somebody call it? She said, "My wife also is an entrepreneur. It's a disease that runs in the family." And I thought that's quite funny, actually. At what stage do people stagnate or the business stagnates? I think there's a couple of things I think that are important. Is understand the market dynamics. We have a client at the moment that we're helping with where the market was 6 months ago to versus where the market is now has drastically changed. About 20 more competitors have entered the field. And all of a sudden, what was costing you $1 to get a customer on board is now costing you two. So your cash flow goes out the window, your projections go out the window, your targets go out the window, and it's really difficult because you're really down in the trenches. And all of a sudden, you thought you were going to have a clear run, and 6 months later, you're going back to basics. So that stagnation or that frustration or the change can happen at any time. I think the other interesting thing I heard the other day was also understand the people that are on your team and their energy levels. Are people starting to zone out? Are they starting to get sarcastic? Is their work quality dropping? What is going on? Is it because they're tired of being in the trenches with you to solve the problems, or is there something else going on? So I think that stagnation can happen for multiple reasons at different times. And it can be internal or it can be external, that's market related. What advice do I have on that? Two things. Know when to quit I think it's really important in any startup is to go, when do I pull the trigger that this is no longer viable? And again, that's not going to be the same for everyone. That might be financial projections, that might be customer feedback, that might be a run rate from an investor, that might be different things. Um, but really understand who you can rely on to get the perspective that you need. Do you have so often with myself, what I will do, and I'm part of a professional network that we use. I call it my professional therapy. We meet once a month, and we have a team of I think 6 or 7 people, and we all get to talk about our biggest business problems. And having people in your community be able to reflect and help you get perspective to go, oh yeah, that happened to me. I know this problem. I've seen this problem before. This is how we solved it. Or actually, somebody goes, that's really tough. You should consider going to X, Y, and Z and asking them for help. Again, it's that power of that network, but just reaching out and getting a slightly different perspective is really, really helpful. Not just for a moan and just for an offload, but actually having somebody who's done something similar and gone through similar challenges is really, really, really beneficial.
I hear so much that resonates with what we lean on heavily in ALX. And first of all, it's that dynamism and, the humility to be able to understand when to evolve or, like you say, when to pull the plug, is something that, we don't, no one has all the answers. And having that humility to be able to, look with honesty, to say, is this still what it was 6 months ago is so crucial. And I love how you're talking about that human element, that need and desire for partnerships. In ALX, we, are one of our biggest strengths is our community. It's our learners who are coming together, who are bouncing ideas off each other, and especially when we look at the entrepreneurs that have come out of any of our programs, the Ventures Founders Academies, or even those who've completed a program and decided to go for it by themselves. In many cases, partnerships have been formed with fellow ALX learners, and also jobs have been given to fellow ALX learners. That's such a valuable and important message. Technology and AI and the way that the world is going still heavily depends on who you surround yourself with and that human ability to connect and to make connections. So thank you for that answer. I have another question from Hanak. I'm just reading that here. Look, is what happens when preparation meets opportunity, but in many parts of Africa, opportunity is limited and structural support is lacking. In such an environment, what key factors or mindsets give entrepreneurs a real edge to succeed beyond just hard work and preparation? I have a feeling where this answer is going to go, but Anna, do give us some of your insights here because this is a very true thing. We talk about this in ALX a lot. We believe that talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. And that is the one thing
Mm,
that we lean on so heavily is trying to ensure that people gain access to opportunities, whether that's through skills,
mm.
networks. What would your answer be here?
I'm going to tell you a very quick story first, and then bring it together. So, for many years, and this is probably going back about 5 years now, I used to train. One of the things I do for my mental health is I have to make sure I exercise or do something that is physically challenging. And I used to do kickboxing and boxing with a gentleman from Zim, whose name was Timber. His name is still Timber. Timber Garimbo is now in the UFC, who's been given an opportunity to fight and live in America. Timber Garimbo was my trainer for many years. And Timber's motivation was always, I'm going to outwork anybody else. Um, and it wasn't his outworking anybody else that gave him the break in America and to be on the ultimate. I can't remember all the names now, but he's been asked to join the UFC. It was actually him messaging every single organizer, every single opportunity, every single person, he did not give up in his ability to take a no. He kept on asking everybody, and when he secured a fight in Las Vegas, he had $7 to his name, and it got picked up in the American press. He literally, we were raising money so that he could like come back home to his family. He had $7 to his name, and it got picked up in the press. And The Rock, whose full name I actually eludes me right now, picked it up and bought him a house and got him all the training and all the support that he needed. Timber would not worked. His hard work was not going to just get him there. Um, it was an amazing story, and now he does incredibly well. And I hear you. The opportunity is limited, and the support is often lacking, which is why I think it is so important that you lean onto these kinds of networks and these kinds of communities to help you open up those opportunities as much as possible. The other part of this is that you will, all of us and all of you, are top performers and will work really, really hard. Dwayne Johnson, thanks, buddy. Will work really, really, really hard. But it's the soft skills and your emotional intelligence that you pick up in these kinds of that you pick up in these kinds of courses is going to help you reach out in a way that cuts through the noise of 100 other people reaching out. It's going to help you put your CV together in a way, or put your organization or your startup idea in a way that will stand out in the crowd. It's the soft skills. It is Timber's ability to draw a story for those $7 that got him recognized and noticed, and not just the hard work. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is that hard work and the ability to ask as many times as possible. There's another gentleman that started, I was telling Aline, started a Bitcoin business, and I don't even know what he does, to be completely honest. It goes completely over my head. And last year he raised something like $100 million. And all of us were like, how did you raise this much money? And what are you going to do with it? We don't even understand what you do. And he said, I asked 1,000 times and eventually somebody said yes. And I pitched this business 1,000 times and eventually I got a yes. But there were 999 no's before that. So it's that grit and determination when we keep on asking and asking and asking and not giving up. It's when you hit that stagnation, you pick yourself up the next day, you dust yourself off, and you bounce back and you go, okay, it's a new day, and we start again.
Yeah,
I hope that's a little bit helpful.
yeah, you have a no, you can only get a yes. I love it.
Exactly.
Just out of curiosity, we have 4 minutes left. If anyone has another burning question, maybe you can raise your hands and you can ask it here just to save our time. There's a question around getting funding for a startup in Africa. That's perhaps something that we can address directly, but I think we can share some resources for this sort of stuff. But ALX Ventures is really a great place to start if you have questions and really want to keep moving forward. Question on MVP. A startup's MVP is still costly. How do you raise a fund, or how do you do that at this point? Gosh, I expect that's a long answer for the time that we have left. But again, we are taking notes of these questions, and that this is something we can get back to you with some advice. And again, I would like to, I'm not plugging the program here, but the Founder Academy that is available to everyone will actually really dive into this question. They're available through the eHub. You can sign up as ALX learners. You have access. So if you are serious about wanting to start a venture, I would strongly recommend that you at least explore what this has to offer. I would like to thank Anna for all your insights, your time. One of the things that I take away from this conversation is there isn't a set recipe. If there was a set recipe, we would all be entrepreneurs and we would all be running our own businesses. There are many instances where you sometimes may just need to have a little bit of luck. Sometimes you may just need to have the perseverance, as you shared from your story. And sometimes you need to know when to quit to be able to pick yourself back up. I so appreciate everyone's attendance. I hope it was really valuable. I will give Lindsay the chance to ask her questions. She's the only person who's raised her hand. Lindsay, please go.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I just got in. I missed everything. Is there presentation or better still something written that
We will do a recap of this meeting. We'll most likely have snippets of the recording available on our YouTube channel for ALX. But Lindsay, keep an eye out because these mentorship sessions will keep coming up. And if there is if people would like to hear from Anna again, I'm quite sure we can twist her arm to come back for another session.
Of
So
course.
please do keep an eye out. I would love to keep this going, but Anna, I know we're at time. Thank you. Do you have any parting words for this group?
I think my parting words will be good luck and you've got this. And whatever, figure out your why and find out who else is doing this in your space that you can lean in. Don't be afraid to lean on other people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. YouTube channels where we share these types of information is ALX Africa. I see a recommendation for the Founder Academy. Check it out. Keep your ear to the ground. Mentorship sessions will be happening again, most likely in a couple of months. If there are any specific questions for Anna, please make sure that you send them through to us. We can do this through the community, or we can do this, we can send out a quick survey to make sure that anyone who has any questions can get them answered. Anna, I would like to thank you again. I'd like to thank everyone here. I hope this was something that there was something here that you take away on your journey that is helpful, and that this was an hour well spent. Wishing you all a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you again for attending.
You are. I think with the way technology is going today, become familiar, if not master, the no code tech stack, right? Because I think it opens several doors, and that's across so many different platforms. Like I'm thinking, even Canva, for example, is part of that no code tech stack, right? Become quite familiar with it, comfortable with it. It will open a lot of doors within the tech space. Um, have to say something about AI for sure because, it's the hot topic right now. Use AI as your co-pilot. I mean, I know there's a tool called Copilot, but that's not really what I mean. Really let AI, amplify your thinking and speed up the things that you're trying to produce. And don't see it so much as a replacement or competition or the only thing that you rely on. Um, and then curate for yourself, like an operating system for your own growth. So set time aside, which can be difficult to do depending on life and what you're juggling. Trust me, I get it. I have a 3-year-old, and yeah, it's all craziness, but find time for you to review what you've learned, what you've built, and what you want to improve, as opposed to just continuously go, go, go mode, which is what tends to happen when we enter a new space, right? We deliver on projects, next project, promotion, next project. So give yourself that space to build your own operation system. And then create your own personal board of directors. Like find those people that will guide you and challenge you. And sometimes it's your friends, and sometimes it's your coworkers, sometimes it's a mentor. But start curating that board of directors in your own mind of people that you will go to for important career decisions. Because they really, sometimes they give a different perspective that you just can't see as clearly. And I think that's really important. That's it.
Amazing. I think if I add anything, I will ruin it. So we are going to stop it at that. That was just perfect. And I really love how you have talked about AI and us using it as our co-pilot, leave alone the product that is called Go. And I love how we've talked about curiosity in every aspect, in every area. Embracing those things that you don't know and just, putting yourself out there and learning on the job. So thank you so much, Jahira, for your time, for your wisdom, and just also for being gracious enough to share the truth about this journey, because it's not all roses from what you shared, and there's a lot of work that has gone into you becoming the leader that you are today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope this was insightful and valuable for you. We are going to send you an email. Please do take time to share your feedback on the email. And of course, this will be posted on our YouTube page. You can also take time to talk about it on socials, share with your friends, with your network, as you build that board of directors. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. Do we go back to the main room?
No, people can
Oh,
leave at their own pleasure. We are done. It's a wrap.
okay. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to answer them over email, LinkedIn, anything that you'd like. Thanks, everyone.